Welcome to Think Smart with TMFG, the weekly podcast covering the financial topics that are newsworthy and relevant to everyday Canadians. Hosted by Senior Financial Advisor Mike Connon of the McClellan Financial Group of CI Asante Wealth Management Limited, here is today's episode.
Welcome to Think Smart with TMFG. I'm Mike Connon. This is John Iaconetti, Financial Advisor with CI Asante Wealth Management Limited. John, we have many families spend decades building their wealth, but they've had very little time actually preparing or having conversations about how it gets transferred to their kids.
Yeah, and a lot of the biggest problems families run into later are actually communication problems. Maybe they're timing problems. Oftentimes we see a lot of tax problems, or simply it's just waiting too long to actually start the planning process. Some people are living longer, asset values have grown significantly, and more families are trying to balance retirement security while also helping their children try to financially retire earlier in their life or help them financially earlier in their life. So today we wanted to walk through 4 wealth transfer problems families often don't expect and give some families struggling with this transition some tips on how to overcome them.
You ever talk to your family about that stuff?
Yeah, well, more so now and more than ever, I think.
Is it weird and awkward?
Of course, absolutely.
I'm older, so my parents are long gone, right? So I went through all this stuff with it. Problem number 1 is avoiding that awkward conversation that you have to have with your parents to sit down and go, well, what's going to happen? What's going to go on? And it's sometimes better waiting earlier than later. I mean, we always talk about the timing of it, and it's avoided so much, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a conversation no one wants to have, and you're always worried your parents, you think you want me to die? It's like, no.
Yeah.
We're just talking about how we're going to deal with this stuff. And what happens is a lot of times parents feel everything's going to just work itself out. I guess the idea is I'm not going to be here, so it's not my issue.
It's part of the issue. It's trying to defer the problem to somebody else. And in reality, going back to what you're saying, where it is incredibly awkward, oftentimes when families get together too, your time together is fairly limited and you don't want to be spending it thinking about, what happens after I pass away and what your responsibility is. But some people have a pretty complex estate plan, if it includes cottages, businesses, things like that absolutely require the planning rather than just, hope it works itself out in the future.
Have you ever seen a situation where not talking about it makes it any better? That's the option, but how many times does ignoring a problem make it go away or get much better, right?
Yeah.
So it is something that has to be talked about. And we get into the details and the parts of it. Like, what are some of the things that are involved in these talks? What do you have to talk about?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, the one thing people think about often is the asset transfer, and that's kind of the be-all and end-all. Well, not necessarily. There's a lot that goes into it. Executorship roles being thrusted onto people that maybe they don't know what they're getting themselves into. Maybe it's even before someone passes away and is being power of attorney. There's a lot of roles and responsibilities that come along with the fact of passing on of the assets to the next generation, the death process.
It's the easy part because that's going to happen regardless of anything, right?
Yeah.
A big thing, caregiving.
Oh, absolutely.
Who's going to do this stuff in the family? Who's better prepared to do it? Sometimes one member of families much better being a caregiver than another one. I'm a terrible caregiver. So I know that, but luckily I had people in my family that were able to help out with my parents when it got to that point. There's always the idea of cottages. Family cottages are one of those things that I find so many parents have had wrong ideas about. And many times is everyone's dream is I have a cottage, right? And I want my kids to take over my cottage and their kids to take over. And I have this picture in my mind 500 years from now, my great-great-great-grandchildren, all 1,000 of them playing together in my cottage in this wonderful utopia.
Yeah.
And they all enjoy each other and have a great time. That's probably not reality.
Probably not. Yeah.
So many times you go in those talk about cottages, number 1, to find out if your kids want the cottage, can handle the maintenance of it, can handle the financial aspect of it, and make sure their spouse is in the same situation.
Yeah, because a lot of times too, it's in regards to fairness. Some siblings might be outside the province and maybe not use it as much, but maybe have to still pay the same fair share. They may not want that. Some kids may not even enjoy going to the cottage, and the parents would like to pass it on to them. They might not even want it, right?
And there's no right solution. It really depends on everyone's needs and wants. And this is where a conversation is much more helpful than just read a book. It might help give you some legalities of things, the tax consequences and the law. but it's not going to know your own family.
Yeah, we see that a lot of times with people's legacy planning. Those conversations usually start to happen after something's already gone wrong. And to your point, it's from years of people trying to avoid the conversation, not making the situation any better. And that's part of the reason why we've tried to facilitate these conversations with people now and having these, we call them family meetings, but just getting everybody around the table and just have these open discussions where maybe you don't have to do it over Christmas dinner or whatever it may be, and you could actually do it in a comfortable setting.
Next is people are choosing to financially move things earlier. Why is that nowadays? Why has that become more common than it was?
Well, I mean, part of it goes back to sometimes there's the complexities where maybe it makes sense to slowly start having that come due earlier. But it's also getting the opportunity to see your family actually enjoy the legacy that you're going to leave behind as opposed to just when you pass away. The other part of that, too, is a lot of people are living a lot longer.
Yeah.
So if you're living into your late 90s, you're passing on assets, probably passing on those assets to someone who's already retired, realistically. So when do people need the money most often? Probably somewhere between 30 to 45.
Sometimes people don't have kids to 30s or
Yeah.
early 40s, right? So you're 80 and you have maybe 10 years left in your life and you pretty much know what you're going to spend.
Yeah.
And your kids are only 40 and they're right in the midst of about to having their kids a new family. It's at the time where they probably need that input at the highest stage. So that's created a bit of wealth transfers that happen at an earlier stage too.
Yeah. And there is the other side of it too. For a lot of people, it's actually preferential from a tax perspective in order to do the early gifting as well. Because when you pass away and it goes through the estate, it gets passed away and or taxed at fair market value. So you can end up with a pretty large tax bill through the estate. Oftentimes, some people are maybe able to gift, which is tax-free in Canada, and do so in a much more tax-efficient manner rather than wait until you pass.
And the other obvious one is real estate prices.
Yeah.
People buying their first house, it's many times it's not possible without a bit of a help from one of the parents coming in too, or both sides of the parents. It makes life a little bit easier for the kids.
Absolutely. I guess with that in mind too, we talked about the rising asset values and how that kind of creates a bigger estate complexity. Maybe talk through that and what different taxable assets and how those kind of stack together and cause such a big tax issue for a lot of people in their estate.
Yeah, when I started off, people's RRIF accounts were $200,000 or $300,000. Now we're seeing $1 million to $2 million RRIFs, and that's a big estate problem. And even when you take that out to 90 years old, they're not going down that quickly. You expect them to be gone by the time people pass away. People are passing away with RRIFs that are worth $500,000. And when you look at marginal tax rates, it means once you have a large RRIF like that, everything's in the 54% tax bracket.
Yeah.
So everything you do, because you've used up all your bottom room, all those marginal tax rates have been immediately taken apart by what's left of the RRIF, which means that your capital gains, everything you're going to be paying additional tax on things is going to be at a very high tax bracket.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And going back to it, you might be living in a marginal tax rate of 20 to 30%, but when you pass away, it's 53. Those might be the exact scenario or exact opportunity where maybe it makes sense to do that slow gifting over time rather than waiting to the estate and letting someone else handle it, but that someone else might be the CRA kind of getting a good chunk of the estate you're leaving behind.
Do you think most people understand their exposure?
No, to be honest, I don't think a lot of people do.
We have part of the financial plan where we can actually go take that out, and I can see shock look on people's faces as we bring up, well, here's your tax bill. Why would that tax bill be that high? So immediately I think there's a mistake in the program, and as you walk through all the things that are there, you go, oh, wow, that is a big tax bill.
Yeah.
And it's something that people have different ways to choose to deal with it. Some people go and say, I'm going to spend more money. That's one solution. Some people, I'm going to give some more money away in the meantime. Some people say, I'm going to go and have insurance put in to cover some of those tax liabilities. So there's a lot of different ways to deal with it. And again, there's no, it's really an individual decision what you're most comfortable with.
Exactly. I mean, like any other problem, you got to figure out, first of all, what the problem is. And then from there, you kind of determine what the solution could be. There's going to be a lot of different people that maybe it is insurance, maybe it is spending the money, maybe it is gifting, but there's other solutions that are out there. And the main point is trying to, again, not try to avoid the problem, but come up with a proactive solution to improve it.
And it's not only, if you're the person that's doing the planning for yourself to give away, it's not only your situation, it's also your kid's situation, right? Because the one thing that people don't realize sometimes is they go and give money and gift them to their kids who are making top amount of money and they don't have mortgage or anything like that. Now they're dealing with a 54% tax bracket rather than having to grow on the parents' estate a lower tax bracket. Sometimes when in those situations, insurance make more sense. Let it grow tax-free for everyone if they don't need the money.
Yeah, these are all quantitative measures, and it's all easy, I guess, easier for us to kind of walk through because, obviously it's what we focus on, it's what we do. But there's a lot of qualitative things that come with passing on assets to the next generation. And what we've come to realize is sometimes transferring that wealth doesn't mean you're transferring the wealth of knowledge that maybe you've accumulated throughout your years of investing.
Just because someone has $1 million doesn't mean they know how to invest $1 million.
That's exactly correct. And when the money does get passed on to the next generation, maybe it gets passed on to a spouse, you don't want to run into issues where now that money is at risk because someone doesn't know what best to do with it.
I had a good friend of mine that wrote a book, and I believe it was called After the Game. And he dealt primarily with hockey players. And a decent amount of money, but unfortunately they have a short career. And when they get finished their hockey career, a lot of times they're not ready to deal with the money that they've accumulated. And the bankruptcy rate among professional athletes is stunning, along with lottery winners. When people all of a sudden get money without the knowledge of how to deal with it, it can be very disastrous. So the next problem is when you're transferring money, it doesn't mean, as you said, you're not transferring your knowledge of how to get it. You're just transferring the asset over. So there's strategies that you can go and do to do that over time and sort of train people to deal with money as they're getting it. It's better for people to make mistakes with little amounts of money than big amounts of money, right?
We've tried to take the necessary steps to start working with kids of clients and family members of clients as well, just because of that reason. It's a very important part of the financial planning process. And it's kind of, I guess, something that the system within Canada and Ontario has kind of left a little bit behind, where some people are getting into the workforce now, not knowing how their pensions work, not knowing how investments work. That's where we kind of try to step in and bridge the gap and provide that education.
I think there's some courses that are starting to cover that in school now, but it's been ignored for many years. So let's recap. First, many families avoid inheritance and legacy conversations too long, while they can create confusion and emotional tensions later. Second, we have noticed that nowadays, wealth transfer is starting earlier than previous generations expected, especially with retirees helping children financially during retirement instead of strictly through inheritance. Third, the rise in asset values and larger estates are creating more tax complexity around RSPs, RRIFs, cottages, investment properties, and family wealth overall. And fourth, we discuss how transferring wealth doesn't automatically prepare the next generation to manage it responsibly.
I mean, the reality is people should start thinking about their legacy planning today. It's something that you can't just continually avoid. It's something that you need to kind of face in the mirror. And like anything else, when it comes to finances, if you have a plan and you try to be a bit proactive, it's going to lead to a lot more success down the road for a lot of people. It's usually the earlier families begin discussing, having that communication, setting their expectations, the taxation, and the long-term financial planning, the more flexibility they preserve later. It's also about preparing family members financially, reducing unnecessary future pressure, and creating a smoother transition across generations over time. So, if you're starting to think about retirement structure, estate planning, or long-term family wealth planning, feel free to reach out to us. As always, we'd be happy to help you walk through those decisions. We also help facilitate family meetings where these discussions can happen openly in a safe and structured space. So if you'd like to learn more about TMFG, check out the show notes for details on how to contact and get connected with us. You can also visit tmfg.ca or call us directly at 905-771-5200. And if you've got any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss in future episodes, feel free to leave a comment below.
Thank you very much, everyone. That brings us to the end of another episode of Think Smart with TMFG. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Think Smart with TMFG with Mike Connon of the McClellan Financial Group of CI Asante Wealth Management. Don't forget to subscribe to Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube Music, and leave us a review. For more insights and resources, visit tmfg.ca or follow the link in the episode description. This program was prepared by Michael Connon, Senior Financial Advisor with CI Asante Wealth Management Limited. This is not an official program of CI Asante Wealth Management Limited, and the statements and opinions expressed during this podcast are not necessarily those of CI Asante Wealth Management Limited. CI Asante Wealth Management Limited is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. This show is intended for general information only and may not apply to all listeners or investors. Please obtain professional financial advice by contacting us at 905-771-5200 or visit tmfg.ca to discuss your personal circumstances before acting on any information presented.